Now, we talked a little bit about your medical history
Mm-hmm.
last time we talked. And so kind of familiarize me again, refresh my memory as far as, when your issues started happening and stuff like that.
Okay, so it was in ninth grade, my second semester. I ran track before, so I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was just like a track injury,
Mm-hmm.
and we pushed it off. Me and my family were meeting together, and just for Easter,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like talking about how ugly each other's feet were. And my I don't have the prettiest feet, but my grandma was like, I think you should get that checked out, and because it was causing me pain, all these issues. Like, honestly, by the grace of God, we got in next that same week,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really rare for a doctor's appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And I was bragging on my friends. I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
get to leave school, all that type of stuff. And like after going to the pediatrician, she was like, "This isn't right."
Mm-hmm.
It was sent straight to the emergency room. Was in scans, and that following week, I was getting my first round of
So was there
treatment.
like swelling or something, or?
Yeah, it was like basically a knot on my ankle,
Mm-hmm.
and it it just was a lot of pain. I was just
Yeah.
laying in bed. It was hurting. I was put pressure on. It's hurting, and I just thought that it was, like a little track
Yeah,
injury.
it's so naturally you thought you just rolled your ankle or just a little
Hmm.
swelling or something. So, so okay, so from there, what goes on then? Do you know the,
Oh, after like all the scans and then treatment and stuff.
well, yeah. So you go to the doctor and you said she's like, this is not good. We get some scans and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, at that point, are you scared? Are you still thinking it's still just an injury, track injury? Maybe I broke a little because there's so many small bones in your feet
Yeah.
and ankle too. It's like maybe I broke a little bone or something.
Well, I actually, while we were waiting in the department, I went on Google and
Mm-hmm.
just looked up what it was, and then
Right.
I just brushed it. I was like, "Nah, it can't be a tumor." And
Right.
so later in that afternoon, I would find out that it was a cancer tumor.
Right.
So I didn't really have any emotions, if I'm gonna be honest. Whenever
Mm-hmm.
they told me that I had cancer,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to think. I'm a very big planner, visionary,
Mm-hmm.
and I have expectations for how I want things to go,
Right.
and it just didn't line up for any of the things that I had like planned out.
Right.
So I was just blank, and then I was just like, okay, now what are we gonna do? And I wanted to know every single thing. I love health. I love medicine
Mm-hmm.
before, and I was just like, I was in biology at that time in ninth grade, so I was just doing research on like what's about to happen to me,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course I'm like a come from a very big faith base. We prayed,
Right.
and I was like, I gotta trust God with this, and so, although I probably could have been super freaked out at that time, the biggest thing on my mind was that I was going to be a junior volunteer at
Right.
Yakima Children's.
Right.
And the interview was that following week. And I decided to go still. And throughout treatment, I was a volunteer on the cancer thing. But that was actually the first time I said I had cancer
Mm.
in front of a huge group of people. And that's when all those emotions started rolling in. So,
Right.
yeah.
Um. See, I actually come from the generation where, and sometimes it's not just a generational thing, but it's a cultural thing where there used to be people who didn't say the word cancer. They
Hmm.
would say that person's got the big C,
Oh yeah.
almost like it was taboo.
Yeah.
And you saying that and kind of you like you said being around that environment, going, oh, wait a minute, this is real.
Hmm.
So you're what, 14 probably?
Yeah.
So, ooh. Okay, so where do you go from there then?
So, volunteer, start my
Mm-hmm.
first round of treatment. I wanted to, before I was blogging a lot of stuff.
Right.
So I decided I wanted to video everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I videoed everything, and I was like, I'm going to just share with other people my experiences. And the biggest thing to me was like, I went on my calendar and found when they told me my last treatment was going to be,
Right.
and circled that, and then that's all I would look forward to. And what kept me going, I was just like, I'm ready. Can't wait for December. Can't wait for
Yeah.
December.
Right.
But of course, it wasn't that simple. It wasn't like the Netflix movies where there were people going through treatment, still keeping their hair. It was about 2 weeks after treatment, I saw like a little bit of my hair just come out.
Right.
And so that night, I asked my parents if we could just shave it off, and we had a shaving party. I couldn't. I wanted to have control over
Right.
this uncontrollable
Right.
situation. And then I found that you actually throw up a lot, you're
Mm-hmm.
nauseated, and all of a sudden I was losing all of that control that I was going into as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all being taken away from me. My parents, they were having to give me little, like, outside the shower baths and help me brush my teeth
Mm-hmm.
or get me out of bed. And so those were like things that changed, but then also I tried to take control of it.
Right.
I decided to do music therapy.
Right.
I made a poem song that Arkansas Children's now uses all the time, and I decided to do junior volunteer,
Right.
and it was I just it was a lot of ups and downs, but I decided I'm gonna take control of this.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't easy at all. Most days it like felt like throwing up and
Right.
just like why am I putting myself through this?
Right.
But I mean that was just that first part, but everything did change whenever I was told that I was gonna have to have my amputation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was in July
Mm-hmm.
4th of July.
Right.
Everything's all happy in the hospital, and that's when my doctors informed us. Um, but I actually found out a little bit before. My parents, they were acting a little weird, and so I asked them what's up.
Mm-hmm.
They told me, and then I was like, I want to amputate.
Right.
And my mom, she was like, well, cosmetic issues. She was like, well, what about your husband? What about this? What about, like, you have to think about your future in this decision. I was like, I just really don't want to deal with this later in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad, he was like, I'm on board with whatever.
Right.
So I went online, looked up Hunter Woodhall, who runs track for U of A, or used to, and I saw I could still run track.
Right.
I watched YouTube videos of people who are amputees just
Mm-hmm.
going on with their day-to-day lives. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. It was no hesitation whenever it came to that choice, which now I do feel some of the repercussions.
Right.
Not some of them, all of them.
Right.
And it probably was the lack of maturity that I didn't think about all the future stuff. But in that moment, I'm still glad I made that decision. I don't regret it. Sure, I have a lot of challenges every single day,
Right.
but I'm also cancer free and about to be in remission. So.
Right. So let's kind of rewind this a little bit. So you are at an age that's an important age.
Mm-hmm.
You're going from being a young adult going into adulthood, going through all the changes that young people go through. And all of a sudden you got this health situation, and being forward thinking like you are, looking to the future and having this these grand ideas about what your life's going to be, which most people do. So now you're faced with this decision that most people wouldn't want to face if they were 44, much less 14.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also in a situation where you're still a kid in a lot of ways, and there's probably a lot of things that you wouldn't have a problem with your parents doing for you in a normal situation.
Mm-hmm.
But now, because of your health, you're wanting to them not even do the things they would normally have done.
Yeah.
So you're kind of being more stubborn, or more rebellious a little bit towards even some of the basic things. So now you're going beyond, and you're pushing yourself too hard,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's
So
correct.
so again, also there's all that stuff where it's the family situation, it's the health situation, it's the going through, growing up, normal situation, teenage stuff, all that kind of stuff. So you were in a very not you. This wasn't just a transitional. This is a transition in many ways,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so um, after the amputation, and
Mm-hmm.
you were in school, so did that happen around you 15 or so, or?
I was I was diagnosed in April, so I was 15 because
Mm.
my birthday's in May, so I have my 15th birthday at Purple Cow.
Right, right,
Nauseated.
right.
But yeah, I was 15 when I made
Yeah.
that decision.
Okay. So now you're in a situation where you're finishing up the ninth grade.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to start high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so tell us your experience as far as over that summer.
So over the summer, it was very interesting because for us, ninth grade started in was the beginning of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first year. I was in a new school. Transferred from Robinson to Little Rock Central, one of
Mm-hmm.
like the biggest schools in
Right.
Arkansas, and it was different. For one was friends aspect. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I tell you, I'm actually not really close with the friends who I had during treatment
Mm-hmm.
because whenever I got out of treatment, I had a whole different mindset and
Right.
mentality on life. And so, like, over the summer, my brain was developing. I was, like, prioritizing stuff. All of a sudden, my priorities weren't, oh, I can't wait to go to the beach this summer. I'm over
Mm-hmm.
here, like, oh, I wonder, like, how long will I be in the hospital today?
Mm-hmm.
When will I be able to get out? Worry about my brother. He was at home all the time
Right.
instead of, because you had a limit on how many people can be in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital room with you. Worrying about my parents. I didn't want them to worry about me.
Right.
I felt like a burden. I just, like, internally was just like, I don't want it. I feel like I'm doing this to the family.
Mm.
And so summer was mainly me just looking forward to December. I was finding ways to. I started writing one of the poetry books that I hope to put out next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I tried to be as involved and honestly distract myself from what was going on. I was doing art therapy almost every day,
Mm-hmm.
pet therapy, music therapy. I even convinced my parents to get a dog. They said I pulled the cancer card, and I'll say it with pride that I
Right.
did. But it was mainly me distracting myself, connecting with other people on the
Right.
internet who are going through similar experiences. I lost track of time. I got out of the treatment, didn't even know who was president,
Right.
and it was I was in my own world, but also that isolating feeling. I had to get off of Instagram
Mm-hmm.
because I was seeing all my friends at the beach
Right.
doing whatever they want, whenever they want,
Right.
and I was in this room, and most of them didn't even come to visit me a lot. Like so, I was like an extrovert in a hospital, so my best friends were now nurses
Right.
and adults, which also impacted me whenever I got out of treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Because you go from that
Right.
to being in a room by yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of mental health things that, like, from traumatic experiences of having a surplus of something and then going from that in both while I was in treatment and also after treatment.
Yeah. So you're faced with the uh, uh, the the naiveness, the naivety of being youthful, which everybody is,
Mm-hmm.
of the world. So you're always, when you're young, you're always thinking, okay, you're gonna be able to conquer the world no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
which is what's supposed to happen. But you're also being forced to grow up quick, and face things that a lot of people don't face. And so that isolation was the best thing for you, but it was also your enemy. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you're connecting, on the internet, but then you're connecting in some ways to a false world,
Mm-hmm.
and and also punishing yourself, almost like somebody that's a self abuser, because you're longing for something. You're, of course, Instagram's, some of the stuff we know, some of the stuff in social media is just fake anyways.
Yeah.
So um, you're, it's um, so you talked about doing poetry, and you just talked about um, trying to. It sounds like you understood a little bit that you needed to be some kind of proactive in healing your mental part of this, right? Whether it's putting in poetry, whether it was connecting with other people that have similar conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tell people all the time. I had a conversation with a man one day, and he had asked me about. He had a brother that had ALS, and he had gotten to the point where he was middle aged, and he'd got to the point where he was needing somebody to take care of him. And he said, my brother's got to the point where he's wanting to quit on life. And I said, what you do is get your brother to put that energy into something positive. Tell your brother to, meet with young people that have ALS or volunteer or just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you've learned that.
Yeah.
So after this summer, you're going into school that next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not to be flippant about it, but were your friends in school almost in a way acting like it was contagious? Like, were they kind of isolating you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whenever I got diagnosed, I went to the high school to speak with the principal and the counselor about the plans and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And whenever my friends saw me, they wouldn't even come close to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that like felt like the most isolating thing ever, especially like being told all this stuff and then your friends don't even seem like they want to come around. And in one way, I was telling myself after treatment that they were only being friends with me because was going through it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I have learned recently from talking with another survivor that that really wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm going through something psychologically, and
Mm-hmm.
also the other person is. And I've been doing, for my psychology paper, I did psychological
Right.
impacts on childhood cancer and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And one of the things that happens, especially with adolescents, is that you believe everything's happening to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you also believe that everything like is like everybody's doing it for you.
Right.
Everything like you just have this like self thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I was semi going through that
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, there's something wrong with me, but also taking into consideration most people don't know, especially my age, 14, other friends who are
Right.
14-year-old, they don't know what to do with like a
Right.
friend who has cancer and stuff.
Right.
There's not a book saying how to
Yeah.
do that.
Well, your condition, what it did was, it made them face the realities of
Real
harsh
life.
real life,
Mm-hmm.
and they're at an age where you're trying not to face that stuff. You're not mature enough to face that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's it would be similar to being a certain age and losing a parent or losing, you just all of a sudden you're just like life hits you in the face,
Yeah.
so they weren't mature enough to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still people that I know, they're a lot older, that when death happens or something, a challenge happens, you don't really know. Okay, do I talk to this person? Do I reach out to them? Do I say, do you need some
Mm-hmm.
help, or is that offensive to them? What goes on? So there's a lot of that stuff going on. So you're going through that next, pretty much the entire semester of school,
Mm-hmm.
seeing that December date coming.
Yeah.
Now, are you initially, you circle it as, hey, I'm looking forward to it,
Mm-hmm.
but as it got closer, were you fearing it?
I I was not fearing it. Nothing mentally processed through my mind until I was cancer free. I
Mm-hmm.
was so hyper fixated on
Right.
that date to the point to where it wasn't until I rang that bell that next day everything hit me of what I actually just went through.
Mm-hmm.
And so that of course spiraled me into a whole lot of mental battles and issues. But I would say I was still looking forward to it like throughout
Mm-hmm.
that semester. Um, I miss people. I wanted to see people, and I wasn't really processing what it would look like to do that though.
Right.
So,
So after the amputation,
mm-hmm.
what is the process of fitting you for the prosthetic and
Mm-hmm.
learning to use that, and again, that has all of its own
Oh
challenges.
yeah.
So.
So it's a long process for me since I was going through cancer treatment, well, chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
The process was longer for me.
Mm-hmm.
It took forever for my wounds to heal because my body was being broken down, broken down, broken down.
Mm-hmm.
And they got me into a socket. It was like a weird clanky socket
Right.
just so I can move. But every time I put it on, I was like in excruciating pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just tell myself to tough it out because I wanted to walk so badly.
Right.
And I would like just act like I was okay. I was not okay. I was in so much pain every time I put it on. But I just wanted to walk to just prove to myself I will be able to walk after this.
Right.
And those did have consequences. I found out that since my leg didn't finish healing, there was also prosthetic issues, but since my leg didn't finish healing properly, I had to have a second amputation my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like prosthetics and amputations are way longer process, especially if you have a health condition,
Right.
because your body is already taking stuff and it's
Right.
harder for it to adapt.
Yeah, it's not the same as somebody that has an injury,
Yeah.
like a car accident or something where it's, again, because like I said, there's that battle constantly. Your body's still battling stuff and changing and stuff. So, not to mention the fact that you're still going through a growth period in your life.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're, so you're changing too. So when, so did your relationship with your friends ever improve through school, or did you find yourself kind of remaining on your own?
So I was actually encouraged not to do like to actually not do my 10th grade year and to just like focus on my health. That's what everyone told
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm too stubborn to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was even in my AP classes still while I was going through treatment. I wanted to stay on the track that I had planned because I was like, there's life after this, so I'm gonna stay on that track. I wanted to get AP classes, go to Harvard, Yale, all
Mm-hmm.
this type of stuff. And whenever I was going through treatment, I was basically doing what everyone else ended up doing for COVID. I wasn't on Zoom, but the teachers would send me work to do, and I'll do it. They'll post it on Google Classroom, and I'll do it from my hospital bed. I would plan out. I'll wake up at like around 8, 6 in the morning, go to the school hospital, like school in the hospital that's on the hematology floor, oncology floor. Sorry, and I would go there so I can get that sense of normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have classes with my friends, and if I did, I would have never known because I
Mm-hmm.
never had any contact with classmates. I was basically on my own for that. Look up YouTube videos while I was in the hospital. There we had a teacher on site who could help me. But whenever it came to school, a lot of people were discouraging me from doing it. Even the hospital teacher once was like, "Why are you taking this?"
Right.
I'm just like, because I want to, I need to. I don't care what grade I get, I just want to show up for myself. So, at school was a sense of normalcy. I'm a big learning nerd person, so I loved it. It was like, although no one was there with me, I knew it was like a habit that everybody
Mm-hmm.
else does. And I'm glad I did it because I would have probably been held back a year, and I still graduated with top honors,
Mm-hmm.
top grades, everything, because I still had to come back that 10th grade year. But then, of course, COVID hit whenever I was like cancer free. So the online stuff wasn't too hard for me. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still, I wanted to be with people because I was like isolated for so long.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Well, that's a big part of school, especially when you're going through that certain age. It's the socialization of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're that transition in life. You're learning how to be with other people. You're learning how to get along with other people. You're learning how to compromise. You're learning how to learn from other people and how to, you know, um, help each other and things like that. So, just as that socialization is huge. So, that isolation, how did it affect you?
Now it's interesting.
Hmm.
Freshman year of college,
Yeah.
ooh, that was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Because I initially, everybody was pushing me away from school, right? So I didn't think about college. I didn't think about ACT. I didn't think about any of that stuff. I got into some top colleges, but like I said, I had to have an amputation my second semester of senior year,
Hmm.
right before I graduated. So that was kind of out of the pot thing, and
Right.
then UCA landed in my lap. But it was interesting because even with like all the stuff people know, like, you're supposed to know as an adult or as a teenager,
Hmm.
like, all the relationship type stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I was literally getting taught all about that stuff from my health teacher
Right.
in college
Right.
who doesn't hold nothing back.
Yeah.
And so all of those little life lessons, people are like, "Oh, you didn't know?" I was like, "No, I
Yeah.
didn't know you don't do X or this."
Yeah.
Because I missed those things. And then
Yeah.
COVID didn't really give you an
Yeah.
opportunity to learn from others.
But then you got those other lessons that other people don't get to, where it's
yeah.
almost like people will sit around and your peers will sit around and complain and be like, almost like a scene out of a movie, just light each other and go, let me tell you how it goes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how real life
Oh
is.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I can tell them about like all the real life. Like some of my friends call me the wisest person
Yeah.
they know,
Right.
and it's funny. Even whenever people are reflecting about high school, they're like, "Oh, you remember like, oh, I just hate it whenever this or this," and I'm just like, I can't relate.
I don't think we discussed it. What is your major? What field are you in? Going?
So my major is public administration.
Okay.
I'm currently a double major with exercise science. I'm about to drop that major though.
Right.
Um, what has really been placed on my heart is like public health. That's where I was gonna go if I went out of state. I was gonna get a public health degree from like U Chicago or something, and UCA doesn't really have those type of programs, so I've had to like makeshift my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my next semester, my official is going to be public admin with minor in communications and health promotion. But exercise science was like something really big to me because I believe that there's power of healing in movement.
Right.
Even in the hospital, whenever I was moving, it made a big difference. Being sedentary just like has so many impacts on you.
Right.
And so I wanted to do exercise science because the vision I had was like start a adaptive like sports clinic or something in Arkansas.
Right.
Where it's like for people who are going through treatments, you have the adaptive exercise. People who are going through who have disabilities, people who have uh, even just if they have autism or diabetes, eating disorders, a safe place for adaptive exercises to be accessible. And that's really what I want to do. But my parents are really telling me, they're like, you don't have to know how to do this stuff in order to start the things.
Right.
So I'm a very big visionary person. So that's where public admin comes in. May go to law school, may do this, but I want to advocate for disabilities,
Right.
chronic diseases, basically those underserved like health disparities in Arkansas.
Well, the thing you have to realize too is you're so young, you don't have to do it all right this second.
Oh yeah,
I know, but you're so enthusiastic and so
I
yeah.
believe I have to. In the next 3 years, I will have X, Y, and Z. But I have to be realistic. I don't like to, especially now, after treatment, my confidence
Right.
up the roof.
Right.
And I'm more outspoken because I just don't want to waste my voice anymore.
Right.
And yeah, that kind of imparted or impact my decisions for life.
So let's talk about the challenges you faced on campus now.
Mm-hmm.
You talked a little bit about as far as being thrown back into a social circle with your peers and feeling kind of out of place as far as, oh, I haven't, I'm kind of played catch up in some aspects, but in other aspects, again, you're ahead of them as far as maturity and different things. But what have you faced, academically, logistically, socially?
So it is one thing that, because everything's still kind of fresh. Like, sometimes I forget that, like, 4 years is not a long time ago.
Right.
And I'll be in lecture.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I didn't know this is still affecting me. I was in biology, and they were just talking about cancer, and I felt like the whole world's just staring at me.
Right.
Or in exercise science, they bring up amputations. I'm like, well, everyone knows I do.
Right.
And so it's like getting over that and also confidence in myself. I'm a lot of people from the outside will be like, you're one of the most confident people I've ever known. But mentally, it took a lot of stuff to get there. And mentally, I still battle those things because I know I'm like untraditional, if that makes sense. College student. Not a lot of people who, like, freshman year, one of the officers here said, I just like was astounded because like this is the first person I've seen who has like a physical like amputation. And I see you going to the hyper every single day working out. And I'm just like, that's just amazing. You're walking as fast. I would have never been able to tell, but one time you wore shorts instead of wearing jeans. And I noticed. And I was just like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's having those interactions, like someone at the post office saying you're an inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like those are some of the things that I've like faced even at school, because peers reflect the world.
Yeah. And
And
in those moments, there's times it makes you feel good, and other times you're like, I don't want to even think about it. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
just like
I'm
everybody else.
just
Stop
like,
pointing out the
yeah,
yeah,
someone,
and they're being kind when they're saying those
uh-huh,
things. But so it's again, it's like I'm trying to get this test done. I don't want
yeah,
it's like I'm just I'm the student. It's another student on campus. I'm not the student with the amputated. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
So, um, and you always talk to people that have any kind of physical disability or any kind of disability at all, that the term fake it till you make it is used a lot when it comes to like people's economic status,
mm-hmm,
projecting that I'm being successful when they're really not until you get to be successful.
yeah,
But the fake it till you make it, when it comes to your outward appearance to the world of how you're feeling on the inside, that's the thing people don't understand.
yeah,
They'll see a smile and they'll see you bebopping around campus, and they don't
mm-hmm,
realize that once you get behind that door, you're just like, I'm done.
yeah.
I'm done.
Literally, me the other day, first semester, like this is one campus experience. I was in math class, could not put my leg back on.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely could not. Like, I was started spasming. I was almost in tears, and I had to stop the professor and be like, sir, like, it was in the class. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I need some help.
Mm-hmm.
The officers, he called the health place, and they were like, well, she could just walk over. And he's like, she can't.
Yeah.
They were like, well, you have to check out a wheelchair and stuff. So the police officer had to come and bring in a real rolly chair to get me out of the.
What class was this?
This was quantitative literacy.
Why did the police have to bring that over?
Because that's what the health center told them to get me. So.
Where does ORS come in on this?
I don't know.
Isn't that what their job is?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
But the police have to get involved with
Yeah.
students that are disabled whenever that's the whole job of
Basically.
officers.
But it was
Accessibility
so
resource
fun to have
services.
my leg locked up behind the bars. And I got to take a photo shoot with the police officers.
Yeah.
So, and I made some new friends.
Right.
But yeah, that was like one thing that kind of pushed me even for Bears Adapt too. Because I was talking with these two other girls, and they were telling me their grievances.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, this is confirmation that I should probably consider this, because it's kind of ridiculous. I have to check out a wheelchair or crutches in person, and they have to roll me out on a rolly chair.
Yeah.
From somebody's office in the
Right.
building. So, that was like one experience. Another one was literally this week. My foot just came loose off of my prosthetic.
Right.
And it was about to like literally fall off. And I had to hunt down somebody who has an Allen wrench.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Department of Education. Then she gave me one, and then she was like, okay, here, I'll let you keep it just for today, but I need you to bring it back in 2 days. And I just laughed at that.
Right.
It's like, the situation's not going to change in 2 days, which
Right.
I did go out and buy one, but it was just funny.
Right.
But those are like some of those situations, crutching across campus. Whew.
Yeah.
I know the cart services, they do their hardest. They're amazing.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, I'm a very punctual person.
Mm-hmm.
I did, actually. I crutched across campus to make sure I was on, like, class on time.
Well, the problem with the cart service is if you've got multiple students that have to be in class at the same time, and it's not just getting class, it's, hey, I want to go to Chick-fil-A and grab something. Hey, I want to go to the library. Hey, I want to go, there's something in Reynolds I want to go see. You can't call the cart service that. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
Or get somebody to, maybe come pick you up at a building and stuff. That's the issues that people do not understand when it comes to, we've talked about this, when it comes to having a physical disability.
Yeah.
The logistics are the biggest nightmare. You have to plan every part of your day.
Yeah, that's some of the stuff that I was like talking about, the repercussions of amputating and
right.
stuff. I never would have thought that I would. Well, I wake up sometimes at 4:35 every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to, but I found myself, if I wake up early, I could get my everything in order, because it takes a little bit longer to put my leg on and to make sure everything's right. And if I want to wear jeans, then I
Right.
have to sew my whole entire leg through the jean hole.
Right.
And so that's why I hate going to dressing
Right.
rooms.
Right.
And so it's like all of these things I never would have thought. The only thing in my mind was running and walking.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many other aspects of having a disability, making sure there's enough parking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
Well, there's that, and those logistic problems are exasperated when there's weather.
Oh, yeah.
When you look outside and it's like, oh my gosh, it's raining.
I'm like,
Because there's times that you have to decide, am I skipping class today?
I did that once because I was on crutches.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wear my leg.
Right.
And this was before I had my scooter, which sometimes it's that thing.
Right.
When I'm on crutches, I slipped once whenever I was in high school going to get an award, and I never wanted to go in rain on crutches again. And it was right after my amputation, and so it went right on my stump, and like all my worst fears came. Like I was wearing.
Right. Right.
So now I'm like, oh, I can't go in crutches in rain, never again.
Right.
And also, I have to make sure I dry my feet off if I'm driving, because I drive with my prosthetic leg. And if I don't dry it off, it'll slip. It'll just like go against the gas pedal.
Right.
And so once I was at Whole Foods and accidentally bent the whole entire handicap pole because my foot slipped because it was wet. And so it accidentally just slipped and pushed on the gas.
Yeah.
So now I have to make sure I dry my feet off before I drive.
Yeah.
But,
well, the issue, I've talked to several students that have disabilities, and like I said, you can't. There's not this box you can put stuff in because everybody has these. There's nuances to it. There are some students who are in a program, or maybe they're higher up where they don't have to navigate across campus. Maybe they're in one building, or like I said, maybe they're advanced up where they're not having to take a full load. But when you're having to go from one part of the campus, then like I said, you're wanting to be a normal student. If people are saying, hey, we're going to go to Wingate and do this, we're going to go over to Reynolds and do this, we're going to the library, we're having a study group at this, you want to be like everybody else, and you're getting around campus. So again, I think we talked about it. I refer to it as mobility anxiety, because there's this part of you that's like, you don't want to ask your friends. If somebody invites you to something, you don't want to say, is the parking closed, or is there a way I can get in? Or, if somebody, say somebody's in a wheelchair, is there a ramp? Is there steps? You have to plan this stuff out, and just like you're talking about getting up early, there's no getting in class 5 minutes before and running. There's no rolling out of the bed and coming into class. No, you have to plan everything out. And you have to pick and choose things sometimes. You can't do everything you want to do. You can't do everything you need to do. And that's one thing I'm advocating for on this campus, is for the administration and its teachers to understand that if a student has a physical disability, it's not just what happens in the classroom. It happens what happens before the classroom. It happens what happens when they go home. Them getting from point A to point B. So what has been your situation as far as your accommodations and dealing with professors and dealing with, anybody else on campus, as far as, your situation with your amputation?
If I do preventative measures, I'll make sure to discuss with my professors beforehand. Let them know the gravity, because I still have to go to appointments. I'll let them know, I'm like, look, every 6 months I have scans. They take all day. I sometimes can't do work because I'm so overwhelmed, or sometimes mentally I'm just struggling because I'm just hoping they all come out clear, because that was happening this semester. So leading up to my scans, I had a whole bunch of signs that didn't look really pretty. And so I was freaking out. I couldn't focus on my stuff. I get lower grades automatically on all the assignments and stuff. And I let them know, and most of them were understanding. And so, but a lot of people don't have
So you try to meet with these professors before the semester starts?
Well, Well,
or right as it
right
starts?
as it starts, make sure to raise my hand a lot in class at the beginning of the semester.
Right.
Make sure I sit in the front and make sure they know my name. And by week 3, they know
Right.
who I am. They know what I need. So I'm like really big on, it's not I can't do it until I like actually can't do something.
Right.
Like whenever it comes to even friends and stuff wanting to go out, they'll just be like, okay, then just bring your scooter. I like, my leg hurts. They're like, we'll push you in your wheelchair then. And they'll come to my room and then they'll just put me in my wheelchair and push me around. They'll close it up for me in my car and everything and stuff. So it's like they understand that whenever I have my mind set on something, I'll do it. And I'm like very flexible as I can be, which of course is exhausting. But that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do for class. I tell my professors, look, I'm gonna show up in crutches this semester.
Right.
Which happened twice. Like I was right. And those are just things I have to do. Map out classes, make sure I know where they are. Um, Whenever it comes to accommodations, it's on me. Because I'm a very direct person. I let them know what I need. And I have like proof. I'll show them my thing. Which that's a downside for people who don't have visible disabilities. Because then most likely you're taken less serious. But they can visibly see. They can see that, oh, she actually went through cancer and stuff.
Right.
And whenever people hear cancer, they're like, oh my gosh.
So do you work with ORs at all?
I do work with ORs. They help me with the accommodations and stuff. They got all that sorted out for me.
With what accommodations?
Like priority seating, extended test time,
Well,
and
that's pretty much what you have done. Pretty much you're on your own with the professors too, though.
oh yeah.
So I mean, it's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's not really not
The only thing I would say I guess in is cart service,
which that's
is kind of through ORs.
kind of. I think that's Um, so um, the little bit that I know you, we've met a couple times, and a little bit I know you, and I knew right away that you are an absolute leader. And you've known that for a long time. That's why you've been looking forward. You're always planning, looking forward to stuff. And so part of that is you have an RSO that you started. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the roots of the RSO is kind of like the story I just told you about, like all that type of stuff. But the plan of Bears Adapt happened before I even got to college. I had it all laid out. I don't know. It could have been Grace Scott, but I don't know. I was like, I want to do the X, Y, and Z. And then I saw the need. I was like, okay, yeah, we actually do need this here. Because I visited U of A, and their disability resource services was in a single little closet room. And I was just like,
Yeah.
maybe like I may run into some stuff. So Adaptive Sports was where it all started. I started my nonprofit, and then I was like, I can make an extension across for college campuses because I'm a small person trying to conquer all of Arkansas. Let me start on my campus wherever I end up. So that's where Bears Adapt came from. I saw the need, and I was like, okay, let's go through with it. Woo! It took a lot of stuff and of applications and all that type of stuff, but it was all worth it. A lot of the things we haven't been able to just go straight into it because I'm not a perfectionist, but I want things to be set in order.
Right.
So Bears Adapt is supposed to be, well, it is a resource for people with mainly physical disabilities, but other disabilities as well, to have resources and opportunities like community and like opportunities for like adaptive sports. So I started that last year, and it got finalized in December. And the first event we held was adaptive group exercise class in the Hyper. And there are people without disabilities coming, and they enjoyed it. They're like, I've been scared of the gym. This is exactly what I needed.
Right.
And stuff. So it's like Bears Adapt is like able to help people even without disabilities, and that's what I love about it. So next year, well, next semester, we're holding a big event. I'm in the process of getting everything approved, but I believe I'm gonna be able to pull it through.
Right.
I want to do like a big speaking thing where people with disabilities are able to like just speak out or like just talk about Disability Awareness Month. What does it mean to you?
Right.
And even potentially get President Houston Davis there to just confirm it. Be like, yeah, this is what we stand for as a campus.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped speaking with the ORS office. Apparently, there's classes that UCA actually offers for professors to learn about how to work with people with disabilities. So I want to push that through next semester and go into each professor and get a commitment from them that right. I want to go to the training.
Yeah, it seems like there's very much of a disconnect between administration and the disabled community and student body. Even I found that there's students that have good intentions and good hearts who don't have the training or the experience who are willing to learn. And then I found others that really don't care.
Yeah. That's what I want to like address and get like I was like it's on the lines of UCA just made this big commitment. How can we as professors make a commitment to the disabled community?
Right.
And hopefully next year it will be able to be something that can spread to Arkansas overall.
Well, it needs to be a requirement. Mm-hmm. I tell people a lot that it's a public university, but universities are ran like corporations. Yeah. It's about the bottom line. So corporations, most corporations require, their management, which are professors, mm-hmm. to take sensitivity training. Yeah. You don't say these things to other people. Mm-hmm. When you're dealing with other gender, multicultural training. Yeah. And there needs to be a requirement of this is how you deal with students with disabilities.
That's probably like the approach that should go instead of getting commitment, actually working towards it being a requirement instead. Right. But I don't know how long a requirement would take too, but I want to, through Bears Adapt, I want to cause like just, a little riffle in the waters,
right.
A little ripple, and I've already talked to this girl. She said she will bring an acai truck because college students, they love food.
Right.
And like do even like adaptive races around like in front of Maine, that little circle roundabout thing in front of the library in I think Maine, and doing like those adaptive wheelchair races, adaptive right. like I know for Paralympics type things, mm-hmm. you have like if someone is blind, they have like a guide person with them. Mm-hmm. And like, of course, it's not like giving that person that disability, but it's giving them that cognitive awareness. This is not as easy as what I traditionally go through in life. Right. And so it brings also awareness to adaptive sports. It brings awareness to there's people outside of myself who are not like who don't have everything that I have. Like they may not be able to just walk out of bed. They may actually have to put a prosthetic on or get in a wheelchair mm-hmm. and use a mobility device. Those are like some of the things I'm working on.
Something I really wanted to go back and talk about, and it caught my attention because I had already thought about this before you said this. Mm-hmm. And it was because of your desire to advocate, not just for yourself, but for others. Your desire to make positive changes in the world as a whole. And during our conversation, you kind of alluded to, future plans of possibilities because you never know what direction things are going to go. You would make a phenomenal lawyer.
Thank you. I would consider law school.
Right. And when you said that, I was like, oh, I've already thought that. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
So.
That means a lot.
Yeah. But we've talked a couple different times, and I'm so impressed by you. I'm so inspired by you. You're an absolute rock star.
Thank you.
So I thank you so much for doing this. It means a lot.
Thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it too.